The USDA crop report confirms an increase in corn global stocks and a drastic reduction in South America production. Right here, we are going to discuss with Jerry Gidel on Connected Farmer, your channel to keep you up to date with the latest trends in agriculture and livestock. So, Jerry, was everything as you estimated before? What has surprised you with the crop report?
Well, the USDA uh, basically got uh, reverted back to its very conservative approach here, saying, well, we'll wait to see how things really develop here and things like that. From the standpoint of soybeans and corn production, one thing we did anticipate limited change in Argentina because of the recent hot weather down there. Uh, but and just leaving that late to later on. But the impacts we've had already with the extremely wet conditions in the southern two uh, states of Paraná and Rio Grande, and Mato Grosso and Goiás and Minas Gerais and other northern areas having such erratic situation, didn't get things planted on time like they wanted, then turned around and had a very dry situation. So they had to replant some things, then turned around and, they got some rains in that. But right now, at least the harvest progress is continues to run 10% or more ahead of the traditional numbers at this point. There was actually one projection out late this afternoon about a 24-25% progress number versus normally around 15 to 16%. So, and usually when things like that come about in a harvest where you're, in essence, early harvest is substantially ahead of normal, that suggests that there isn't as many bushels out there and what they're harvesting, so they can move faster. They don't have to move it to other places. They don't have to end up moving it around, things like that. And also the fact that the crop season really wasn't as strong as it should be, and so they're potentially the yields at least. In a couple places that are pretty prominent here, Paraná and also Goiás both reported disappointing yields again this week. Now, I understand that there's some later crops and things like that can come in, but I was really surprised that the USDA only took their Brazilian crop estimate down 1 million metric tons from from 157 down to 156. That when basically even the some of the old line South American consultants like Sassafras Mercado, they dropped their number from 151 and a half down to 149 this week. And now, is 149 an extremely bullish number? No, but I think it does suggest that the USDA's number, and how did the market react? Yes, it was higher going into the actual report on Friday by 10 or 11 cents because Conab actually come in and they slipped their number down into that low 150s, and that and the beans and then the corn, they also trimmed it back. And then all of a sudden, the USDA decided they wanted to wait another month before they made a change in their estimate. So I think that there's lots of people scratching their head as in this thing, trying to say, I'm not sure how to. They're, generally speaking, most of the trade has a negative bias already. They're already short, so they didn't feel comfortable about selling anymore. And actually, before the day was out, we actually closed higher in soybeans, which is a telltale sign that things are starting to lose its downside momentum, and that now we've come back today and slipped back again ahead of the weekend. And also, we had a very timely and good rain in Cordoba, one of the major producing states in Argentina. They had 2 to 3 inch mounts here finally, and that definitely timely and good for them. I don't know if that means we're going to have soybeans at 53 or 4 million metric tons versus the current 50 million estimate, but definitely a timely rain that was positive. So I think that we're waiting around to see what other rains might occur, and that it's still kind of choppy expectations in Brazil, and at this point, probably many places don't really looking forward to a lot of rain at this point. The crop is starting to, dry down and get ready for harvest. And the interesting twist for the Brazilians right now is that uh, when the faster they get the beans out, the better chance they can get the corn in and have a chance to get it mature before the seasonal decline in precip and the heat builds in Mato Grosso, Goiás, the northern provinces there in May. So I think this is kind of a two-bladed sword there for Brazil. To some extent, the rain will probably be better for the corn that they might be planting, but at the same time, it probably means that if they have already widespread rains, that means they won't be able to get out in the field and get the harvest out so they can put the corn in for the second crop safina output that's out there. So, lots of different things, but overall, we didn't, despite some big increases in, or excuse me, lack of declines in the Brazil's crop, we didn't see a market that just tanked on things here today. Uh,
And what did you think about those corn supplies that were expected by the U.S.?
uh, well, the Brazilian corn number, they did take it down 3 million in that, but we're still, as I said, 124, 125 versus the trade at 117, 118, things like that, that we got from Sassafras Mercado. And the interesting twist on it is that the corn uh, output scenario longer term is so tied into the safrinha crop, which is really where so much of that potential crop size for Brazil is still wide open and totally unknown at this point. It's more positive the more things you get planted, the earlier you get them planted for the second crop corn and that. But it doesn't always mean that we're going to get to mid-May or after here for moisture and limited heat. If it somehow or other speeds up here and we get heat in mid-April, that's not going to make the Brazilian potential output all that dandy. But it's definitely a feature, definitely something that's still ahead of us here. So I think this market's still going to be quite connected into South America's prospects and what might happen there. Because in reality, the carryover stocks in the U.S. Corn and wheat really didn't have many changes, but soybeans did get knocked in the head here with a 35 million decrease in exports, maybe because the soybean number there for in Brazil is only one down, but I think it's also the fact that the last month or so we have been somewhat lackluster. The last day or two, last week or two, we've actually slipped below the seasonal pace of the USDA's numbers here that we've had. Now that's as I said, it's kind of surprising that we're so aggressive on that. It's only the last 2 weeks of sales that we slipped below the normal progression over the last 5 years to reach the USDA's numbers. But I'd have to say that things could change in that one pretty quickly, though, if things in Brazil uh, don't start improving on some of those reports from the country, because the first 25% we've heard so far has been shaky at best.
Yes, and what do you think about the prospects for next week? We are going to have the USDA Ag Outlook, where we will have an idea of how much is going to, how many acres we will have planted in the US.
Yes. Now, the USDA sometimes has a little bit more ability to get some understanding of things around the US and around the world. Sometimes they don't decide to do that, and they kind of plan, or they kind of make projections on what they hope we'll see, just as much as I might be looking at here at this point. From there, I'd have to say right now, there's going to be some decline in U.S. corn plantings because we went so far over on the teeter-totter to the corn here, up to 94 and a half million acres, and beans were like 84 and a half, or 83 and a half, I should say, million. I guess the interesting thing that's happened over the last couple of weeks, we've had some expectations being put out from Informa and their group there under SP Global. We've had Farm Futures supposedly doing a survey of their subscribers to their publications and that. And so, interestingly enough, we've had about a 2 million decline in corn at this point, and somewhere between 1.5 million to maybe 1.7 or 8 million. Interestingly enough, to make a dent in where we're going longer term here on reducing our corn carryover stock from 2 billion, we really do need to see a number closer to 3 million. I kind of did a little bit of a look at the U.S. acres and things like that. I can see how that it might get there to 3 million. And that with, Western Corn Belt plantings going down and that. But the interesting twist on it is that places like Colorado and Kansas, where there's a lot of feedlot demand out there for corn, I wonder if the weather's good, there might not be the shift. And to some extent, both those states are not really conducive for soybean seeding. So that's a kind of an interesting twist on it there. But the other side of the coin is on the bean side. Uh, I don't think 1.5 million or even 2 million is really going to be able to support the demands of the West Coast desires to reduce their pollution and smog and stuff like that. California, I think, would easily, their plans right now to expand their renewable diesel, which is really uh, 80 to 90, even 100% soybean oil versus utilizing the product, from uh, crude oil in that. Uh, from the standpoint of their heavy industries and things like that, they're really wanting to get that calmed down. And if Oregon and Washington join in, uh, our demand for soybean oil is going to be significant. And right now, it's really the whole industry has got it structured now to support this West Coast renewable diesel demand. And at this point, I've heard even some commentary here of Chinese cooking oil showing up in the West Coast to either go recycled in that world, in the restaurant world, or basically going right into the renewable diesel world at this point. So, right now, at least, uh, I feel like we should see numbers closer to 3 million on corn and a 3 million decline there and a 3 million decrease in corn planes and a 3 million increase in soybeans, because I think that the demand for renewable diesel and bean oil scenarios in that is good. The one twist of that is that does create uh, substantial amount of meal because we only get poundage. You got 11 and a half pounds out of 60 in oil, and you get somewhere between 46 and 47 pounds of meal. And so if you're crushing for oil, you're also creating meal. And uh, that's been helpful for us this year because the fact that Argentina has been out of the world protein markets, but look like they're going to be into them with a vengeance here starting August and May of this year. So it's going to make things a little more dicey out there for U.S. processors to get rid of some of this meal at this point. Uh, right now, the pork prices are not really exciting, and so that's where we need to have our expansion in U.S. livestock. Right now, we cattle are not a species that utilizes the good quality U.S. soybean meal protein. It utilizes other things at this point because ruminant uh, doesn't need that high a quality of protein to produce beef and its rations. So that's some uh, issues that pop up here and how we're going to utilize some of the expanded meal going forward. But I kind of still feel like that there's going to be demand around the world for protein at this juncture. And if we have reduced supplies in South America, particularly Brazil here, then there will be less competition from them in the world protein markets too.
All right, we'll catch up after the Super Bowl.
Yes, yes. Well, it's going to be a interesting battle of some longtime uh, teams of the importance of lots of red out there this time, both in the National League and in also the American League teams. I'm kind of partial to the San Francisco quarterback as he's from my college alma mater, and so it's always good to have somebody to root for.
All right, thank you very much.
Take care, sir.